Have you ever had that mini heart attack at the airport baggage claim? You see a bag that looks exactly like yours, you grab it, and you're on your way. You think you've made a clean getaway from the chaos. That's exactly what happened to Sarah one Tuesday afternoon. She was returning from a business trip, tired, and just wanted to get home. She spotted her sleek, black suitcase, identical to the one she'd checked in, and headed for the exit without a second thought. The handle felt right, the weight felt right. Everything seemed perfectly normal. The taxi ride home was a blur of traffic and city lights. All Sarah could think about was a hot shower and her own bed. She dragged the suitcase up to her apartment, dropped her keys on the counter, and finally, let out a long sigh of relief. Home sweet home. She decided to unpack immediately, just to get it over with. She knelt on her living room floor, clicked open the latches on the black suitcase, and lifted the lid. And that's when her world tilted on its axis. Instead of her neatly folded business suits and souvenirs, the suitcase was filled with stacks and stacks of cash. Not just a little bit of money. We're talking bundles of $100 bills, tightly bound with rubber bands. It was more money than she had ever seen in her entire life. Her first reaction wasn't excitement. It was pure, ice-cold dread. Her mind raced. Who did this belong to? Why was it here? This wasn't a lucky mix-up, it felt dangerous. This was the kind of thing you only see in movies, and it was happening in her living room. Her hands started to shake as she carefully lifted a corner of one of the stacks. Underneath the cash, there was more. Several small, sealed plastic baggies filled with a white powder. And tucked into a side pocket, a cold, heavy object wrapped in an oily cloth. She didn't need to unwrap it to know what it was, the gun. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This wasn't just a suitcase full of money, it was a criminal's entire toolkit. She slammed the lid shut as if that could make it all disappear. Panic set in. She stood up and started pacing her apartment, her mind a whirlwind of terrible possibilities. What should she do? Her first instinct, a primal urge for self-preservation, was to get rid of it. She could drive somewhere far away, dump the bag, and pretend this never happened. Who would know? She hadn't opened it at the airport. No one saw her. It would be her word against Hughes. A criminal who couldn't exactly report his bag missing, right? The thought was tempting. So incredibly tempting. It would be the easy way out. Just erase the last 30 minutes from her life. She imagined herself driving in the dead of night, her headlights cutting through the darkness, looking for a deserted road or a deep river. Her hands would be sweating on the steering wheel. Every car that passed would feel like a threat. What if she got pulled over? What if someone saw her? The easy way out suddenly seemed fraught with its own set of dangers. The paranoia would eat her alive. Every knock on the door, every siren in the distance would send a jolt of fear through her. She would be looking over her shoulder for the rest of her life. And then another thought crept in, even more terrifying than the first. What about the person whose bag this was? They had her bag. Her bag with her name on the tag. Her address wasn't on it, but her contact information from her company was. They would know who she was. They would know where she worked. They would come looking for their property. These were not the kind of people who would just forget about a suitcase filled with millions of dollars and a weapon. The idea of them showing up at her door made her blood run cold. Hiding the bag wasn't safety, it was just delaying the inevitable, and possibly making it much, much worse. Trapped between two terrible options, Sarah sank onto her couch, her head in her hands. The silence of her apartment felt deafening. The suitcase sat in the middle of the room like a ticking time bomb. For a few minutes, she just breathed, trying to calm the frantic beating of her heart. She thought about her life. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. It was an honest life. She worked hard, she paid her bills, she had friends and family who loved her. Was she really going to throw all of that away because of a random, terrible twist of fate? She closed her eyes and pictured her parents' faces. They had raised her to believe in doing the right thing, no matter how hard it was. Honesty is the fastest way, her dad used to say. Lies and secrets just make you run in circles. The memory was so clear, it was as if he were standing right there in the room with her. And in that moment, something inside her shifted. The fear was still there, a cold knot in her stomach, but it was no longer in control. A new feeling was pushing through resolve. She knew what she had to do. It was the scariest option, but it was the only one that felt right. It was the only path that led back to her normal life. Running and hiding was a dead end. Confronting the problem head-on was the only way forward. She took a deep breath, stood up, and walked over to the suitcase. She didn't open it again. She didn't need to. She picked up her phone, her fingers still trembling slightly, but her purpose was firm. She dialed 911. "Hello, I need to report something," she said, her voice surprisingly steady. "I'm at my apartment. I came from the airport and I accidentally took the wrong suitcase. There are illegal items inside. I think I'm in danger." She gave the operator her address and a brief, calm description of what she had found. As she spoke, a strange sense of relief washed over her. The secret was out. The burden was no longer hers alone to carry. Within minutes, the sound of sirens grew louder, converging on her building. The police arrived, and Sarah explained everything, from the moment she grabbed the bag to the moment she called them. They were professional, cautious, and thankfully, they listened. They took the suitcase, handled it with care, and assured her she had done the right thing. One of the officers told her, "You have no idea how much worse this could have been if you had tried to handle it yourself. You were very brave." The next few days were a whirlwind of interviews and statements, but with every step, Sarah felt lighter. The police were able to track the bag's owner using airport security footage. He was part of a major trafficking ring, and Sarah's call led to a significant breakthrough in the case. They also located her own suitcase, which had been left abandoned on the carousel. It was untouched. Looking back, Sarah knows she was standing at a crossroads in her living room that day. One path led to a life of fear, paranoia, and looking over her shoulder. The other was terrifying to take but led back to freedom and peace of mind. She chose the harder path, the honest path. And it proved to be the fastest way out of the nightmare. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is not to run, but to stand still and face the truth. We tell stories like this because they remind us of the power of our choices. In moments of crisis, our true character is revealed. Thank you for watching. If you believe in the power of making the right choice, even when it's hard, subscribe to Moral Compass 01. We bring you real stories with real lessons. See you next time.